fighter has the highest fight IQ?
I don't think there's nobody in the game that has the fight IQ that I have.
Off the charts.
His IQ
the
is
highest
insane.
fight IQ maybe ever.
This guy hits hard. He's tough. He's this, he's that. And this guy has a dream. But my fight IQ will win this fight.
Welcome to the Fight IQ podcast. I'm back with another episode. Today I got some Monday matchmaker for you guys. As you can see to the left of me, we got some fighters from UFC Mexico City. Most of them winners, the only two losers from this card being Drew Dober and Steve Erceg. I still felt the need to do some further matchmaking for them. But without further ado, let's just get into it. Brandon Moreno, great performance over Steve Erceg. Erceg had a little bit there for him, but really it was mainly a dominant performance by Moreno. Exactly what we expected. I will say, us at the Fight IQ podcast, we did really, really well on our predictions for this card. I know I went 11-1 on my predictions. I think Andrew did as well. I'm not entirely sure for Martin, but we all did pretty well for predictions on this card. So if you like that video, and if you like these Monday Matchmaker videos, please like, comment, and subscribe before I get into this. It really helps a lot. Comment anything down in the comments, even if it's, shitting on us for whatever the case may be. Please comment something down below. Help us get into the algorithm. We would really, really appreciate it. That being said, Brandon Moreno, what's next for him, in my mind? Brandon Royval rematch. They're 1-1 in the UFC. I think this is really the only thing that you can do. It seems like Kai Kara-France is going to be next for the title, and this is a good fight. What else would you do for Royval? What else would you do for Brandon Moreno? I mean, the Manuel Cop matchup is there for either of them, but then we're prospect destroying and contender destroying. I think matchmaking should be done for what's appropriate, but also to keep movement going in the division. I think with that in mind, this is the best thing you could do for either of these guys. That way we don't destroy Manuel Cop's chances for a future title matchup in the future. I like this fight right here. Like I said, they're 1-1. Moreno and Royval have 3 losses and 2 losses to the champion, respectively. You don't want to give them a title shot to either of these guys in this current moment. So I think you do the rubber match. Like I said, they're 1-1. You do the rubber match, number 1 contender fight. Boom. By that time, Kai Kara-France versus Pantoja will have happened. Maybe, who knows? Maybe Kai Kara-France sleeps him, and then we get some new movement. Then whoever wins between Moreno and Royval goes up. Kai Kara-France and Brandon Royval had that really, really crazy fight already. So that could be a fun potential matchup if Kara-France gets the title somehow. And if Pantoja wins, honestly, I think he should go up to bantamweight since he has so many wins over these top guys. And then the winner of Moreno versus Royval, maybe you get them versus Manuel Cop for the vacant title. Either way, that's what I think you should do next. Let's move down to Steve Erceg. Steve Erceg had a good showing for himself. Look, he can compete against the top guys in the division. We know this, but he's losing to them all. I think you got to give him someone ranked below him. And in my opinion, the perfect guy for that, Joshua Van. Us over at the Fight IQ podcast, we are big Joshua Van enjoyers. I would like to see Joshua Van get a nice step up in competition. That would be Steve Erceg. Steve Erceg needs a little bit of a step down. That would be Joshua Van. Tell me this wouldn't be a banger. The forward pressure of Joshua Van, the counter ability of Steve Erceg. I mean, the boxing exchanges would be extremely fun. This would, with a win for Van, propel him into the top 10. Okay, we know Van can handle these top 10 guys, give him a really, really good fight after that. And a win for Erceg, just kind of solidifies his spot. Really, really shows that obviously he proved himself against Moreno. He proved himself against Pantoja that he can sit up in the top of the division. But can he win in the top of the division? That's what we need to know. So I think Joshua Van, Steve Erceg, kind of a no-brainer. Let's move on to the next fight. Manuel Torres. He had, about as good of a performance as you can have against Drew Dober. Straight shot, rocks Dober. Dober holding on to a leg for dear life. And just like 20 unanswered shots from Manuel. And yeah, what more can you say? Awesome performance. That's what we wanted to see, especially after a loss to Bahamondes. We really wanted to see a good performance from Torres, and that's what we got. So what's next for him, you may be asking? Well, another guy who's sitting outside of the top 15. He is undefeated all but one performance in the UFC, and this is just, classic matchup of whoever wins this fight deserves someone in the top 15, and this guy is Ludovic Klein. Like I said, there's really not much to be said. This is just a fire matchup. This would be a great fight. Ludovic Klein, really, really good striker, great striking defense. This is the main reason why I wanted to see this matchup, because Ludovic Klein, his striking offense is good. Every once in a while, he has a really, really good striking performance and gets a TKO. But his striking defense is really one of his best attributes. And good takedown defense, too. Against a guy like Torres, who has really good striking and also a good ground game, this is the type of fight that I want to see. Can Manuel hang with Ludovic on the feet? And if he can't, can he take him down and submit him? And on the flip side, can Ludovic defend the takedowns, or can he stay responsible enough on the feet not to get cracked? This is, there's not really much to say other than with a good win, give one of these guys a top 15. Let's move on to Drew Dober. It's really, really sad, especially for guys like me who've been a fan of Drew Dober for a long time, have seen him fight in the UFC for a long time. And, a guy like Dober who had such a good chin, he was always able to rely on his chin even when he was getting into trouble. It's sad to see this chin start to get cracked. But look, don't let him go from the UFC yet. I think there's still some fun fights to be had from Dober. Manuel Torres is a really, really fun prospect, really powerful. I don't think that should be his send-off fight for Dober. I think you give him a fun fight, but you can't really, listen, you don't want to disrespect him by giving him like someone in there who's making their debut, or giving him someone like so far down the rankings where you're like, oh man, like really that's where we're putting Dober nowadays. I think you give him a guy who is known to have fun fights, who unfortunately is coming off a loss himself, but seems to be a pretty strong prospect. So if Dober beats this guy, maybe you're like, Dober still has some fun fights left in him. That guy, Miktabek Orolbai. Miktabek Orolbai is coming off a loss, like I said, to Mateusz Rebecki. I think that was his last fight. Give him a fun fight against Dober. Listen, I don't want to go too crazy into this one because it was a loss for Dober and whatever, but Drew Dober, Miktabek Orolbai, make it, headline a prelims or something like that, or maybe open up a fight night main card. That could be really fun. Let's move down. Edgar Chairez, really, really good performance, although kind of a layup. Man, I'm just gonna put this. I'm gonna drop this guy right in here. Cody Durden. Both have a couple losses in the UFC. But both very talented, both really good grapplers. So I think, tell me right away, these guys wouldn't just get right to it and start scrapping. I think they would start scrapping right away. One guy would get cracked, and then some of them, whoever gets cracked would resort to their grappling probably, and then they'd have some really, really fun grappling exchanges. Someone would probably end up getting ground and pounded or submitted or something. This would be a really, really fun fight. Put it as like the first fight to open up a card, like not open up the pay-per-view card, but have it be like the first fight that opens up the entire card, that gets the crowd going right away. Because I think this would be a really, really exciting fight. Like I said, I think they would get to throwing hands immediately, and then as soon as one of them gets touched, I think whoever got touched would resort to their grappling, and then we'd have some really, really fun grappling exchanges. I think you do this. Both have solid high-level experience, honestly. Even in the UFC, these guys have both faced some like high-level opponents. So I think you put them up against each other with a good win, send them on a streak. Whoever wins this fight, we're not talking about giving them a top 15 guy, but with a good win, they could get close. Let's just move on. I'm going to start just dropping these guys in here and explaining after. Raul Rosas Jr., put him against Callan Loughran. They both fought pretty recently. I mean, obviously, Raul Rosas Jr. was just on this card. Callan Loughran fought like a week or two ago. I like when the schedules line up, and I think this would be a fun matchup. I think, they're both coming off recent wins. Callan Loughran just beat Nathan Fletcher, and then obviously Raul Rosas Jr. just beat Vince Morales. I think Raul Rosas Jr. is still really, really young. I don't want to see him get pushed too fast. And I think Callan Loughran is this guy who's like, wouldn't be a super dangerous guy for Rosas. I think, it's a very winnable fight. I think Rosas has the grappling advantage, and I think he can hang with Loughran on the feet too. Loughran doesn't really have too much skill in terms of his striking game. He kind of just plots forward. I think this would be a good fight. It's a decent fight for both of them. I think it's a good next step for both of them. I think if Loughran wins, okay, he just beat a guy who has a name, and you start giving him some higher level opponents. Rosas Jr., if he beats Loughran, you just keep little by little with Rosas. I think you just keep giving him these guys that are going to push his career forward slowly. He's still 20 years old, super, super young. Listen, okay. All right, fuck it. I'm leaving it there. I don't really have too much more to say about this. Don't throw Rosas Jr. like into the deep waters right away, and then Loughran doesn't deserve to be in the deep waters right away. So this is kind of a good matchup. Let's move up. David Martinez, really, really strong performance. Again, they gave him a layup here. This is kind of like the theme here. They gave Martinez a layup. They gave Rosas Jr. a layup. They gave Gautier a layup. Whatever. But we're talking about Martinez here. I think with an extremely impressive performance like that, I mean, dude, this dude is an elite level striker. He's going to beat most of the guys. If you just give him a guy who is a fun striker but has nothing in terms of grappling, Martinez is going to beat him. I think that's pretty obvious. So I'm going to bring this guy in here. Rinya Nakamura. He's coming off his first loss. At least I believe it was his first loss to Muin Gafarov. He decided not to wrestle in that fight. I don't know why, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. I think this would be a good matchup. I think, like I said, Martinez is going to beat any of these guys who are like not in the top 15, but they're mainly a striker and they don't really have anything in the way of grappling to throw Martinez's way. I think this would be a fun fight. Personally, it's just fun. Like, Rinya Nakamura is not afraid to like go into the fire and strike with these guys. And I usually don't like a prospect versus prospect matchup, but I honestly don't see Rinya Nakamura making it too far. I know a lot of people consider him a prospect. I don't, especially after that loss to Gafarov. I'm not mad at this matchup. Like I said, prospect versus prospect can get a little weird. You don't want to kill one guy's momentum. But Rinya Nakamura already lost his momentum from losing that fight against Gafarov. So I think this is the fight you do. Martinez, if he can nullify the grappling of Rinya Nakamura and knock him out, which I think he would do. If Rinya Nakamura can't take him down, I think Martinez is getting a KO here as well. I like this fight. And, it's still early on for both of them. So just whatever, a good win, just add some momentum to the beginning of their career. Let's move on. Gautier, extremely impressive performance. I mean, like I said before, they kind of gave him a layup with the Medina fight. But it is what it is. Medina's actually really tough and hard to put away. So the fact that Gautier was able to put him away that easily shows the power that he has. I mean, he's a middleweight Ngannou, it seems like. So I'm just going to bring this guy down here. Cody Brundage. Cody Brundage. He's got some UFC experience. He's coming off a nice TKO win over Julian Marquez. I like that. You got two guys coming off of wins here. Gautier, you know, I would pick him in this fight, but I think this is just a good next step for Gautier in his career. Give him a guy who's got some decent UFC experience coming off of a win. You know, I'm not trying to put Gautier against a guy coming off of a loss. This is just a good fight. You know, we did see Gautier face a little bit of grappling adversity in his Contender Series fight. Not too much, but enough to make you go, I'd like to see him get tested a little bit more against a wrestler. And Cody Brundage has good wrestling, not elite, but good wrestling that I think he could try to put it. You know, Cody Brundage is this guy who's like, the first round is always crazy. Who knows? You know, if he can make Gautier work in that first round and make it out of the first round, who knows what's going to happen? Brundage is tough, but I am assuming that Brundage is kind of going to try to close the distance. If Gautier can dismiss those wrestling attempts and stop Brundage, I think that's a good look for him. And like I said, he's super early on in his UFC career, so I think that would just be a good look for him. Let's talk about the final fighter on the screen here that we got. Melquizael Costa. He's been doing really good. And he's one of these guys that every time I see him pop up on a card, I'm like, okay, he's good, but he doesn't really seem like anything special. And then he wins, you know, in a pretty good fashion. This was a close fight with Christian Rodriguez, though. And I don't want to see him take too far of a jump forward. One, maybe two more fights before we're talking about top 15 for Melquizael Costa here. I'm going to bring this guy down. Du Ho Choi. Du Ho Choi coming off a really, really good performance. Looked like a killer. And you know, he's a little bit ahead of Costa here in terms of like how close they are to the top 15. Du Ho Choi is a little bit closer, but Melquizael Costa has been more active. But this I think is a really good fight. Du Ho Choi has a lot of experience. So, you know, Melquizael Costa has fought these guys with good experience. Andre Fili, and put away Andre Fili in the first round. Like I said, one or two more good wins for both of these guys, and we're starting to talk top 15. Sorry, I can't fucking talk today. Melquizael Costa versus Du Ho Choi. I think this is a really, really fun next matchup. Du Ho Choi really good on the feet. Melquizael Costa slick on the feet. They would have some really, really good exchanges. Maybe if Du Ho Choi starts to crack Costa, Costa has that grappling that he can lean on, but his striking is good too. So I think they could have some fun on the feet. And if Costa runs into some trouble, he has some grappling to lean on. And then after this, whatever. If one of these guys has a good performance, now we're talking, you know, maybe not top 15, but like Sadiq Youssef type of character. If you want to give him a top 15, Dan Ige type of character. These are my thoughts on these fighters from UFC Mexico City. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I think these are great matchups. I had fun putting these matchups together, and I think these are good next steps for everybody from the Mexico City card. So like I said, please like, comment, and subscribe. Whatever your thoughts are, comment them down below. Help us in the algorithm. And yeah, hope you enjoyed. Catch you on the next one. Adios.